Hello once again and welcome to Willow Talk. Adam Peacock and Alyssa Healy from the IPL. This time we had Hads last week, we've had Heels a couple of times, and it's time to say hello again from the IPL to the Australian women's cricket captain who's enjoying things over there. How's life, Heels?
It's going well, thanks Adam. Sad that we can't get Hads and I together at the IPL, but it won't be very long until that takes place. But all going well here, thank you.
We could get you on the same episode, but we feel we've got to build things up until you actually get in the same place at the same time. And in a week or two's time, Delhi play Punjab, so can't wait.
I'm looking forward to, first and foremost, seeing Hads. I feel like I've missed him. It's been months. But I'm looking forward to that fixture, actually. Both teams are sitting pretty well on the ladder at the moment. Punjab are going very well. Delhi on a little bit of a speed hump midway through the season, but I think it's going to be a cracking fixture. So, yeah, we'll wait and see who's shouting the beers.
Yeah, exactly. We come to you the day after another match for Delhi, so we're recording a bit later in the day, but I'm just impressed that you've made it, Heels. I was wondering if you were going to still be at the ground waiting for Mitch to bowl his fourth over in the dying stages of that game, but we won't go there too much, will we?
Look, it's one of those games that I think when you play a 14-game season and you're going really well, you just need a little bit of a wake-up call. And I reckon last night, maybe Delhi's little wake-up call, the wicket was a little bit sort of what I've been used to playing here at Delhi, actually a little bit lower, a little bit slower, and it probably suited some different bowlers to what Delhi actually have in their lineup. So it'd be interesting to see what sort of home ground advantage they take moving forward. But yeah, look, a few grumpy boys this morning, but in saying that, it's sort of like the kick up the bum you need to keep going.
Well, later in the pod, we'll discuss the fallout from that and go into detail about how difficult it can be to captain a side when so much is happening at the end and everything feels like the wall's closing in, and also Rahul and Virat Kohli. I call it an incident, but it's worth talking about. We'll do that a bit later on, Heels. We've got the rest from the IPL, of course. We're going to have a look at a predicted World Test Championship final squad. You're amongst a few South Africans over there, so you might have more chat about what's going to happen in that final, which is just over 40 days away as we sit here right now, so it's going to sneak up on us. And we've got the Secret Cricket Club involved again, Heels, and we've got some questions coming your way. A few of them IPL related, a few of them just life in general, I think. So looking forward to that.
I am looking forward to that, actually. It feels like I haven't really spoken to people for a little while, so answering questions I'm happy to do.
Okay, excellent. We've got Sundries as well, and a bit more of an update from a bit more county cricket. Fergus O'Neill went out with a bang with his little stint over. His short-term visa he had, Fergus, so that's unfortunate. You can't get the longer one. I wonder if he's going to slope off now and tour the European continent before coming back here for pre-season with Victoria.
I did wonder if maybe he went to Portugal for a couple of days and then come back to the UK to play a few more games. But he's been unbelievable over there. And I mean, when the county itself is, showering you in praises about how you've been around the group and obviously what you've done on the field, it means you've done a good job. So he's probably got a contract there for life if he ever wants to play again.
Exactly. Now, remember to hit us up on social media if you want to get in touch with the show by searching Willow Talk Podcast on TikTok and Instagram, or subscribe to the YouTube channel at Listener Sport. Aaron Heels has got in contact after we were talking about the dog track at the Gabba. I think this was a few episodes ago when we were reminiscing about the fact that they're going to knock the Gabba down. And yeah, long gone is the dog track, but it was there in the 80s. For younger listeners, they literally had a greyhound racing track around the perimeter of the fence before you got to the grandstands at the Gabba. And Aaron says, when I was 5 years old, Australia were playing the West Indies and I was on the hill with my dad. Joel Garner was on the boundary, and one of my dad's mates lifted me over the dog track fence. I ran, got Big Bird's autograph, and then Garner lifted me back over the fence, a memory I will never forget. How good's that?
That's awesome. I mean, that doesn't happen anymore, and it's probably a good thing that doesn't happen because every man and their dog would jump over the fence. But I mean, yeah, those are the good old days of cricket when that stuff was fun.
Now, a few weeks ago, you said you had a good story with Viv Richards. What was it again?
Did I? The only interaction I've had with Sir Viv was we were pre-World Cup in 2018. We were training in Antigua, and I was just in the nets, minding my own business, having a hit, and all of a sudden the coaches pulled me out of the net, and I was like, "What's going on? Like, what have I done wrong?" they're like, there's someone here to see you. And so Viv's just literally come up to our training group and goes, where is Healy? Where is she? And I was like, anyway, I wandered over and I was like, so Viv, like, how are you? Like, nice to meet you. And they said, I remember your uncle. And I spent the whole time, my travels right around the West Indies, apologising to every great West Indian cricketer for what my uncle did back in the day. Desmond Haynes came over to me and was like, at one point towards the final, and was like, where is Healy? He said the same thing. And I was like, hello. And he goes, your uncle and I had fierce battles on the field, but he was a good bloke. And I was like, yeah, well, I'm nothing like him, even though I am. I'm nothing like him. I'm really nice, and I apologise in advance for anything that I'd done. But I mean, like, you grew up watching these guys, and probably for me more so like replays on the telly about how good they were and how big they were in the sport. And then for me to sort of be almost like called over out of the net to come and meet Sir Viv was like such a surreal experience for me. And then he actually spent the whole time at our training session just standing behind the nets watching, commenting on, Meg Lanning was smacking them everywhere, Pez was smacking them everywhere, and he was just commenting on everything that we did. So it was that was a really cool experience, that all those guys would come out, and everywhere we went around the different little pockets of the West Indies, there was a legend there watching, which was cool.
I've got to check my ages here, but do you remember much of watching? It must be pretty cool having a relative that you see at family barbecues. All of a sudden you turn on the TV in the middle of summer and there he is giving it to the opposition, or, having a conversation, as it were, with Uncle Ian. Yeah, there was always some sort of wording. Luckily, stump mic wasn't a thing. It seemed like he was having a chirp behind the stumps. But it is... I feel like it's kind of cool now. Like, I didn't really appreciate it at the time. I remember hanging over the fence as a 7-year-old. We'd just moved to Sydney, and it was the first time we'd been away, and we went to the Sydney Test. And I was like hanging over the fence yelling, Uncle Ian, Uncle Ian, Uncle Ian, like for him to come and say hello. Meanwhile, he was warming up, like he was getting ready to play a Test match, and here I was thinking that I was the priority. And so at the time, I thought like nothing of it. I just thought he was playing park cricket down at the local park. But I think now that sort of being there, gone through it at the same time, or as well, I should say, it kind of makes it even more special. And then watching how good he was, like now on the replays, probably makes me appreciate it even more, which is really cool. I mean, he kept to some of the best spin bowlers that we've ever had, and did a pretty good job at it. So it's kind of cool to watch. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Just on the autograph story, I've got a little one from an Australia-West Indies game that I went to as a day night. I went with my mum one night to the SCG, and Greg Ritchie, remember Fat Cat? He was on the on the boundary. Went down to the boundary, said, "Oh, Mr. Ritchie, can I have your autograph?" He just turned around and goes, "Nah, we're not allowed," and just ignored me the whole time. But that whole section of the bay heard the response. And this was back in the days where light beer wasn't a priority for those in the outer at the SCG, if you know what I'm talking about here, Hills. And he had it coming to him, like they were just giving it to him for the next 10 overs, to the point where I think he went and changed where he was fielding and everything. So, yeah.
So he just
all
didn't
the captains
sign
out there.
Instead.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Let your outfield players maybe just hop over the rope and sign the odd autograph now and then. Well,
funnily enough, I won't name this person, but he's probably one of the biggest names in our sport around that era of Uncle Ian. It's funny, I always remember this story because it's kind of not shaped who I am, but kind of shaped the way that I approach cricket and how we treat some younger players. But I was the only kid in the vicinity at the time walking past said person and asked for his autograph, and he said no. And it's the only thing I remember. I can't remember all the ones that signed my stuff, but I can distinctly remember this person saying no. And I was shattered. Like, I was a shattered 7 or 8-year-old at the time, thinking like, oh. So it's funny that turns into, well, if someone asks for an autograph, you always sign it, or you never know where that takes you. They may never remember that, but they'll always remember when you said no.
Exactly. I'm going to get that name out of you before we're done. Or maybe it's better just to leave it.
We might want him on the show, so I better not say that.
Okay, fair enough. Now, leave us a review also and follow on the Listener app, Apple Pods or Spotify. We'll have to set a new target. We still haven't done that. We've got to set a new target before the World Test Championship, 6 weeks away now. Probably left us a message on Spotify. Saw Adam at King George's Road in Sydney just now. This would have been Saturday night, and the only thing that came out of my mouth was Willow Talk. And he just started laughing. So, yeah, fair enough. I just hung out on King George's Road on a Saturday night, just wandering the streets, but good to see you, Prevy, as well. So, yeah, Willow Talk.
Long way from home there, Adam.
Long way from home, yes, watching a relative play sport on a Saturday night and just going for a walk before that. So, yeah, that's what I was doing. Anyway, let's get into some cricket chat, shall we, Heels? Just quickly, the World Test Championship, it's just over 40 days away now as we sit and record this episode of Willow Talk. June 11, it starts in London, and a South African predicted 11 has popped up in the last week or so. So tell us what you reckon of the lineup, and all the usual suspects are there. You're around a couple of South Africans at the moment. Is there something to be fearful about this particular 11 that's popped up?
It's an interesting discussion because I think, globally, we're all aware of there's some political aspects to the sides that they pick, in and around, just everyday series, but also like World Cups and Test Championships and whatnot. And I believe, I'm not sure if this is the truth or not, I believe that they're available to just pick their best side that's available for that one-off fixture. So that could be really interesting to see which way they go. But I think I'm not sure they quite know yet. I think they've kind of got a squad of players that have been told that they might be going, so to prepare their visas and start to get things underway. But when you look at the predicted 11 that they've got, it's a really good side. They've got a lot of firepower with the bat, which is not exactly something that you traditionally look at Test cricket and go, that's a real advantage. But I think in a one-off fixture, like having a little bit of firepower with the bat and some real aggressive options with the ball, could be quite daunting for the Australian side. But looking at that side that they've picked, predicted that they've picked, there's a lot of really good players in and around there. It's going to be tough to choose that final 11.
Probably should have gone through that 11 before I threw that question at you, but just putting a bow on it. So it's Aidan Markram, Dezorzi, Rickleton, young player, Tristan Stubbs, who you obviously know a bit about from over there at the IPL, the captain, Bavuma, of course, at 5, Bettingham, Verene, Janssen, Kurtzi, Maharaj, the spinner, and Rabada, who obviously picks himself. But that's got some sides to it, that 11.
Yeah, like you look at that and then you go, wow. And they probably haven't been able to pick their best 11 for much of this little period leading into to make the World Test Championship final, which I think is even more impressive. But the fact that they've got this crop of players to choose from for this one-off fixture in England, in conditions that are going to suit their bowling attack in particular, I think it looks quite daunting as an Aussie looking at that, going, holy hell, that's a really good side. But I think to see these two fierce bowling attacks go head-to-head is going to be really good to watch. And if I was a batter, I'd probably be backing away.
Yeah. Well, I remember the final in 2023, it wasn't exactly traditional early summer conditions in England. The sun was out a lot and it was dry, whereas it wasn't exactly two sweaters on type weather, which can be at the start of June. But I mean, George Bailey and Andrew McDonald and all the rest who have an input, they've got some seriously big decisions to make. And I just wonder, it's not so much about what the decisions or the answers will be, Heels, but it's how they form an opinion on what the best 11 is. Is it based on what? Is it based on the whole 2 years? Is it based on the last 6 months? IPL form, county form with Cam Green, someone like Cam Green?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a balance of what they want moving forward. I think this game is important, don't get me wrong, and they want to win that Mace again and be the best Test team in the world. Don't get me wrong about that. But you're also picking a side that's going to play, the rest of the year for Australia in the baggy green, right? So we're not necessarily picking it for a one-off game. We're picking for some consistency. So you'd assume that the 11's going to look pretty similar to what it has. I think probably the only conjecture at the moment is that opening spot. Sam Constant's name's been thrown back in there, whether or not he plays that role. But, having players going over there scoring runs in county cricket is only going to then potentially maybe sway some opinions as to who does come into the side from a batting perspective. So Yeah, I don't think that we're going to go into it thinking, oh, it's a one-off fixture. We're just going to pick that best 11. We'll pick for the future moving forward. I would envisage, but feel free to prove me wrong, George and Andrew, and just pick the best side at the time in form and go see it. Good luck.
Good luck. We'll talk about this in the next few weeks, I dare say, in the lead up to the World Test Championship final. Let's get to the IPL. So Heel's a bit of a heartbreaker for the Delhi crew in the last 24 hours as we sit here and record this episode. How is the vibe in the camp after a pretty exciting night of cricket there?
Yeah, I mean, they're fine. They're still in the top four. We're sitting pretty, I say we. It's like I've just become a member of the team.
Well, you are.
Sitting good. Top four, I mean, personally looking at that RCB lineup, like that is a really powerful lineup and that's a very good side. And if they click, in which they're starting to click, they're going to be really hard to beat this IPL. We know RCB's record isn't that great in IPLs and finals and whatnot, but that is a really powerful side and they're going to challenge a lot of teams. This probably a nice little wake-up call last night with the Delhi team had probably a little bit of a different wicket to what they'd been used to here in Delhi, a little bit lower, a little bit slower. Actually a little bit similar to what we had when we played WPL here, like grass on it, but really, really dry. So probably bring some of the other bowling attacks into play a little bit. We've got some real pace and then we've got some spinners that are world class that probably don't need a little bit of help with the surface. That they can bowl on something that's going to benefit our batters. So yeah, anyway, the vibes are good. They're still sitting top four, and I think they just need to win maybe 2 or 3 more to secure a place in the finals. But you obviously want to finish as high as what you can, so you get a second crack. But a little bit of a blip, but I think the team's going well, and just need to refocus and make sure we hang on to some stuff in the field, and we'll be right.
With RCB, Josh Hazlewood is taking wickets for fun. So now that I presume that you guys caught up, how's he going? Like he's had not the best 12 months in terms of getting his body 100% right, but he looks as if he's heading toward that.
He's just looks rhythmical at the moment. I think I heard him speak after the game yesterday as well about how good for him that break was leading into IPL, that he could get his body right. He felt really fresh and he looks really good with the ball. His game plan's really simple. I think the wicket last night definitely suited him and you know, I can eat my own hat in saying we still hadn't seen him bowl at Chinnaswamy. This was earlier on when I was on the podcast, and he's actually still done really well at Chinnaswamy, which means that you're on song and you're bowling well. But the wicket last night just suited him if you're hitting that natural back of a length like he does, and letting the wicket do its thing and offering that natural variation. We saw any one of the bowlers that went to death stuff went really full, got whacked at the end, but that back of a length stuff was so hard to hit, and that's what he does so well. So it's nice to see him with the purple cap on his head. He's kind of underrated in the T20 format. I feel like everyone forgets about him, and then he comes back and plays, whether it be BBL or he plays IPL or he plays some sort of short form cricket, and everyone goes, wow, this guy's really good. So it's cool to see him doing well, and it's nice to see him enjoying his cricket first and foremost, but back out there running around on the park.
Completely easy for us to sit on the other side of the fence and go, this player should be bowling, what's he doing with this field placing, especially someone who has actually played the game at the highest level like yourself, Heels. But you were there. Akshar Patel is copping it a bit for the way he utilised his bowlers at the death there to try and protect that run chase. And it didn't come off in the end, and Mitch ended up only bowling 3 or 4 overs. And obviously he's copping it for that, not bowling Mitch in the 19th or the 18th or whatever. Can you just take us into the shoes of the captain in a situation like that where, I said at the top of the podcast, I don't know, does it feel like the walls are closing in and you have to get absolutely everything right to navigate?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the situation of the game as well. They were only a couple of wickets down. They looked comfortable. I mean, Virat was only going just above a run a ball. He looked set. Like, if he had the opportunity to put the foot down, he would have done that. But Krunal Pandya came in and kind of took the pressure off him in that regard and sort of got the required run rate right down and sort of brought them back into the game. But I think as a captain, it's hard. I mean, especially in this tournament in particular, there's a lot of different opinions being floated your way. I mean, KL Rahul's done a lot of captaincy as well. You've got the coaches coming out at the strategic timeout, so there's opinions coming left, right and centre at you as to who you should be bowling, what sort of fields you should be setting. But at the end of the day, I think you've just got to have a plan. You got to have a first plan, and you got to be able to execute it. And I think that obviously does come down to the captain and who's going to execute that plan the best for you. And then if you don't have that plan in the first place, then you're not quite sure who to throw the ball to and what's going to unfold. So, yeah, I feel for him a little bit. It wasn't easy. I think they've got a lot of bowling options to choose from, and who's going to do what and execute what is probably quite tricky. But yeah, it just seemed like last night everything that the bowlers tried found its way to the boundary at some point. And I think in the fielding side of things, probably those chances went begging, which in T20 cricket you need to be able to take to win games like that, knowing that you're 20 runs short with the bat. So it's hard, and I actually struggle watching the game in that regard, sitting there on the sideline. You can't help but you're just watching the field and watching where the fielders are. Well, this is what, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, he's going to bowl this is a good plan. And then sort of they bowl something else and the ball goes to the boundary and you're like, it's a really interesting one. But no, I think, to be fair, he's doing a great job, and he's been under pressure a lot and come up big so far. So I think all of them, and that includes the bowlers as well, will learn from that last night and go, okay, this is where we can be a little bit better.
Jacob Bethel, did he surprise Mitch in some regard with the shot he played?
I tell you what, he didn't surprise me. This kid is an absolute gun, and I mean, this is what I say about RCB. I mean, they've got such a powerful lineup. When you can take Phil Salt out of that side and put Jacob Bethel in, as a left-hander, just to mix things up a little bit, but he's a freak. And poor Mitch, we were laughing about it actually at breakfast just before. He executed. He said, I executed. That ball was top of off. That's exactly what I was told to bowl. That's what Josh had been doing all night, right, and been successful. And he's gone for 6 over the back of backward square. Just shows the talent of the guy, and probably the fearless nature that these young guys play with in T20, and girls, I should say as well, that they play with in T20 cricket at the moment. There's no fear whatsoever. It doesn't matter who's got the ball in hand. They're going to try and hit you for 6. But he's an absolute gun, and he's been spoken about for a long period of time, and he'll play 3 formats for England for sure, and be really successful at it.
One last one on this game. Kohli, Rahul. So it only lasted a couple of seconds. There was a bit of chat there. KL with the gloves on, and Virat turned around to him at one stage of the innings. They looked to be all happy families after it when Virat decided to do KL's celebration. This is my ground, mockingly in front of him, but it was all big smiles on the face. I could only imagine that this has been analysed like you wouldn't believe today in the media. I just had a look on social media, and it's all over that, and it's very much the KL Rahul camp or the Virat Kohli camp. It's strange that everyone can get that emotional about two cricketers basically saying 4 words to each other in the middle, and it looked a tiny bit aggressive. But are you across exactly what happened there, or was it over in a flash when you're watching the game live at the ground and it's forgotten about?
To be fair, I saw it happen from the stands. I saw it unfold, but I mean, read into what you will. There's actually like a lot of byplay here in India about those two and what's gone on. With KL always wanting to go back to Bangalore and never been given that opportunity. So there's a lot of narrative behind the scenes that people want to write about, and probably Virat's dragged into that a little bit. So this has probably only enhanced that story. But they're all cuddles and chatting after the game, and I'm pretty sure good mates that when they're playing for India, so you can't really read into it too much. But I feel like sometimes as cricketers, you want to beat your mates more than you want to beat your enemies at times. And I think when it comes to these sort of fixtures, when you're playing against some people that you know really well, you want to do even better, and sometimes they get a bit more fiery. I mean, Sharks v Dolphins, right? It's the same thing. So I can imagine that there'd be a bit of banter going on, but I don't know the ins and outs of this story, and I'll leave it for the media to read into it as much as they can.
Just on Sharks v Dolphins, if you missed that reference, it was in reference to a story Hills told a few episodes ago about when the Australian squad got together and it gets split into 2 teams with no apparent kind of guidelines about who plays for who. It's just there's your 2 teams and they go at each other. So that's exactly what she's going on there. Not talking about an NRL game between Redcliffe and Cronulla, if you're across that, no. Rugby league. It's Sharks v Dolphins. That one's
less... Yeah, way less spicy than the NRL, that's for sure.
Great White v Orca sounds less spicy than, like, you lot going at each other. So anyway, elsewhere, what else have you picked out in the last few days from the IPL? Poor old Hads ran into a bit of rain with Punjab after they set themselves a pretty good total of just over 200, and yeah, that was the end of the game because the rain started falling in Kolkata.
I'll tell you what, the next probably 4 or 5 days is going to sort out the ladder really quickly. I think teams are going to get knocked out of the competition in the next few days. Probably not Hyderabad. I know they're in the Maldives at the moment with their 10-day break. I think they got 4 or 5 days over in the Maldives. So if you see any of that on social media, that's currently what's happening. They're enjoying a holiday mid-season, but I think for everyone else, the next sort of 4 or 5 days is going to determine, probably that top 6. I think three or four teams are going to become less and less likely. I think 2 have already basically been knocked out of the tournament already, but then the other 2 are probably going to become. It's going to get really hard for them. So that top 6 is going to get really defined, and then that jostling for the top 4 is going to be really interesting to watch unfold. So. It's going to be a fascinating week of cricket, and probably all leading into the Delhi v Punjab game up in Dharamshala, which I think is going to be the hottest contest of the year.
The Willow Talk Cup. All roads lead. All roads lead. Mumbai bubbling along nicely. I watched a bit of this one. Mitch Marsh he didn't get enough of the strike in the run chase. It was weird. I think he faced 24 balls, and I think he was out there for 70 balls from the start of their run chase. I mean, they were chasing 215, and it's always going to be difficult, especially when they leave overs at the end for Trent Boult and Jasprit Bumrah to grab the ball, and that's exactly what happened, and Jasprit ends up taking 4 wickets. Yeah, we were watching that game from the ground, and it switched off, and actually, no, the truth of the story is I went inside for a beer and wasn't watching the finish of that game, but we'll just say that it switched off. It switched off, and I didn't see the end of the game, but I double-checked the scores, and I said, LSG got boomeraged. Obviously, it came back at the death and cleaned up, but it's an interesting one, LSG. I mean, they were going really well at the start, and then it seems to have the wheels have fallen off a little bit. It seems like there's a bit going on in that camp. They're chopping and changing players a little bit. David Miller came in as the impact sub, which is a little bit strange. Not strange, different from what they've been lining up, recently. So they're a little bit unsettled all of a sudden with their 11 and how they're going about the way they're playing, and I think they need to get some players into some form if they're going to challenge the finals. But yeah, Mumbai RCB peaking at the right time at the moment, I feel, and getting some players definitely in form. Bumrah with the ball in particular, he's been a bit quiet throughout the season, so that's scary if you've got to play them at the back end of the tournament. I'm still getting over the fact that Runriser's got to go to the Maldives. Imagine being in that meeting. Oh guys, we've got 10 days off. You got 2 choices. You can stay here for a camp in Hyderabad and we can just knuckle down and have 2 sessions a day, or we can go for some pina coladas in the Maldives for 5 days. Well, it's up to you guys. It's up to you. Whatever you want to do.
Well, I'm now just wondering if I was actually supposed to tell that story, but surely it's common knowledge. I think one of the owners... okay, maybe I'm not supposed to be telling the story.
Oh, no. You didn't even know. Cut that bit out.
No, it's fine. Use it. It's hilarious. I believe one of the owners, someone in the family's got a birthday. So, I mean, when your birthday falls in the middle of the IPL, why not? And you've got a 10-day break. Why wouldn't you celebrate it as best as you could? But I tell you what, if the Sunrisers come back and they win their last 5 games, I think all the teams will know what the secret is.
Yeah, they might base themselves in the Maldives next season. Speaking of drinks, we're off to a drinks break. Back in a sec on Willow Talk with your secret cricket club questions for Heels. Welcome back to Willow Talk. Adam Peacock here with Alyssa Healy, and Heels is at the IPL. Of course, Walsh has asked our first secret cricket club question here, Heels, and it's one we asked Hads last week. It's about food. What's it like, and what's the most adventurous thing that you've eaten so far?
To be honest with you, there's been a little bit of illness floating around this group, so it's been probably less adventurous in the food department than probably what it has been in the past. But food's great over here. I feel like when you travel to the subcontinent, you've got to dive into the local cuisine, because if you're asking them to cook you a chicken burger, it's not really their strong suit, right? They know how to cook a curry. They know how to tend to some bread and make sure you're well looked after in that regard. But I think probably the most adventurous thing that I've eaten since like being over here in my time in India is our WPL franchise actually organised in one of the team dinners a little, because when you walk down the street here, there's little food carts everywhere, right? And they're cooking stuff for everyone's eating them, and like we're basically told don't touch that because you're going to get sick just because your belly's not used to it. So anyway, they organised a little street food cart for us international players at one of the team events, so we could try all these little local cuisines and little treats and whatnot without the fear of it coming from sitting on the side for 7 days. And that was so cool. I mean, to try all the little pani puri and dai puris and all the little desserts and whatnot that you could buy down on the street. It was so cool. So that's about as adventurous as I'd get. Just knowing that you're here for a reason, and if you get too sick, you might miss some games of cricket. But the food over here is amazing, and I love that it's different wherever you go around India, north, south. Everyone's got their specialty, which I think is cool.
So Hads told the story that Punjab have introduced this thing where if they go to a home port of a player, an away game, and that player has relatives in that region, those relatives will bring local cuisine in to have that. Do the Delhi guys have that, or...?
No. No, they don't. But that's a really cool... That's actually awesome. Yeah, I know when we go to Melbourne, this is very Australian, when we go to Melbourne, Alana King's family love to cook up a big Indian feast for us and bring it to the hotel so that we get... And this is very Melbourne. It's not like we're having it in Mumbai, but... I love that idea. I think that's great, and it gives especially the international players an opportunity to try, which is cool.
If international players were to go to your backyard heels and you were to introduce them to your local cuisine, what would the thing on the plate be?
You know what? We've hosted a few parties of late, and we've been into the sliders. So a lot of pulled pork, lamb shoulder, on a brioche bun. You can't go past that.
Oh, brioche bun! Listen to you. Yeah. I thought we were walking straight into chicken schnitzel territory right there, just chicken snitty from the local pub. No.
Well, that too. I mean, if you are coming to our house, I will take you to the pub, so you can have anything on the list. It could be a steak. So.
Just around the corner. Yeah. There you go. Okay, some cricket. This is a left field one. Now, Eggsy asks, do you think there could ever be a space in IPL for mixed teams showcasing the best half men, half women teams? Like, not literally half men, half, like, as in, like, half the team is men. And half the, I just got to quantify that. It's a confusing time in the world right now, but no, just wanted to quantify that.
No, you know what? I think I was so naive to that when I was coming through. Like, yeah, why not? Like, we could do that. That could totally be something that I would do. But I think the reality of, no, not really. I think once you separate kind of the men's and the women's game at an underage level, it makes it hard to bring them back together at the elite space. I think if a young girl's coming through and they're playing with the boys right through and they're good enough to play men's cricket right the way through to the IPL, then that could be the only way that it can be done. I think the tournaments could overlap a little bit more, and then you could have a real franchise feel and sort of, I don't know, create some atmosphere that way. But I think it's getting further and further apart, so that's never going to happen. But I think the whole mixed teams, that ship's probably sailed. Oh, the only place where I reckon it could happen is that Legends Tour, and I'm only saying that because, I mean, I'm available.
After you finish playing international cricket.
Sorry, once you finish playing cricket, yeah.
This mob, Napa Valley,
have
utilised.
Well, that'll
be
a mixed team, so we'll
there
be
you
right.
go. Tom asks, what's your favourite game of the IPL so far? And I'll add it. I'll put a little caveat on Tom's question. The one that you've seen with your own eyes, and involved in favourite game would mean best atmosphere that you've experienced so far.
Yeah, I think the super over against Rajasthan was like a wild game of cricket. I think it was. It wasn't the best game of cricket I've ever seen, but it was like a really good, entertaining game of cricket, which I loved. So that's probably the best one I've seen this season. I'd have to rack my brain as to whether I'd seen one back in the past, but that's probably the best one I've seen with my own eyes this year. Although the atmosphere last night, when RCB play anyone around the country, there's more RCB fans than anyone else. So the atmosphere last night was electric.
good answer to that one, saying that old mate's sitting in the room and he bowled that super over. So, yeah, he did well with that, didn't he?
Got to be careful, yeah. Got lucky,
He
yeah.
did very well. He got lucky. BRJ asks, if there was a golf tournament between IPL teams, who wins? Jeez, that's a tough question.
You know, I'd back Delhi in for this one because I've played golf a couple of times here with Mitch and some of the others, and we've lost both times. So to not feel like you're the best player hurts a little bit. So I'd back Delhi in if we're going to play IPL golf. Some good players. KP, very good golfer. So the mentor, doing a decent job.
I did notice that you got out to play around with those guys at DLF, and there were Peacocks there, so it was... Yep, thanks for the invite.
We thought of you the whole time.
Yeah, great. How annoying are they? Geez, they're loud.
They're
right in the middle of a
they're
backswing.
beautiful, and yeah, it's actually terrifying because one of the caddies, or no, it wasn't the caddy, it was somebody else that we were playing with, said to me like, "Oh no, if you hit one of those, like you're in real trouble." And I was like, "They're everywhere. Like I've hit a bird at Longreef of all places, and if I hit a peacock in India, I'm probably going to prison." So it's quite daunting knowing that they're there and that you could potentially hit one.
Yes, our plumage is a protected part of the wildlife. Jackie's got a good question. Pez is coming home to New South Wales. The dynamic duo back together. Happy about it?
Yeah, obviously stoked to have her back. I think initially when she told me she was leaving, I think it was like sadness, but I always thought that maybe she'd come back one day. Obviously her family's still in Sydney, and yeah, and like I don't know, I'm not retiring her, so please don't take it this way, but almost like finishing your career where you started and sort of where your foundations are is kind of a really cool thing. So yeah, I'm really stoked about that. I don't know how much domestic cricket we'll sadly get to play this summer, looking at the schedule and what it's going to look like, but I mean, if I get to run out there in the Breakers shirt with Pez for another time, that'd be really cool.
Oh, you're not trying to retire her, you're just trying to retire yourself by the sounds of things, everything you've said on Willow Talk in the past 6 months. So.
I'm getting so many opportunities elsewhere, I may as well.
Exactly. Philip asks, is there a player that has surprised you in the IPL? And off the back of this, Brody asks, up-and-coming player of the tournament is so far. So it might be intertwined, these two.
Player that surprised me. I tell you what, and I'm only saying this because I've got to spend a little bit of time with him. Tristan Stubbs has actually really surprised me. The maturity of a player at such a young age and such a young part of his career, the maturity that he's already showing and knowing that he can play a role, in particular with this Delhi side, he's got a really clear role of, finishing innings off with the batting, in the batting side of things. To know that and be really clear in that and to do it well, it's been really fascinating to watch. So that's kind of surprised me. I don't think it's that surprising if you've watched him in the World Game, but kind of seeing the ins and outs of that has been really, really cool. Probably what surprised me a little bit is Rishabh Pant's form. I think that's probably been a real surprising thing for me to see him struggle a little bit. I feel like he'd been playing some good cricket, and to come in and probably not dominate like we assume that he would has probably also surprised me. But
well, Hads is a massive fan of Arya, his opener up there in Punjab, so I'll say him on your behalf.
Yeah,
so,
actually, he has been good, and I heard Ricky Ponting raving about him on the TV the other night. So he plays 360, and that's, as an opening bat, if you can do that, that's a good effort.
Aspirant asks, is it weird you have to change IPL teams that you support every year? Well, not every year, but it's been a couple of changes.
It is for a really like loyal cricketer. Like if you follow my career, I've actually only really ever played for a couple of teams, and I've never really left. And I've been very fortunate in that regard. I haven't been punted and had to go somewhere else, but I'm like quite loyal. So for me, pulling on the Delhi shirt, knowing that they've got a women's team, actually felt really dirty. The first game I hated it. I didn't like it. Whereas, Kolkata last year, they don't have a women's side, so I felt a little bit more comfortable pulling that on. But I know I copped a heap of grief in Lucknow wearing the Delhi shirt, sitting in the place that I've captained that franchise. People didn't find that too funny, but technically I'm off contract, so I can do whatever I want. But it is quite weird, and having to sort of swap in and out. So I'd imagine what it feels like playing for the sides. I guess you're contracted and you just do your job, but as a supporter, it feels kind of weird bobbing in and out because, I've still got a fondness somewhere like with KKR, and then the Luck now I feel like you got a connection. So it's, it's weird.
Kiara's got a question. What's the stadium that's got the best vibe over there?
I mean, Ahmedabad's the biggest stadium in the world, but it's like so big that I think it's the vibes lost. So you got to go with either Chinnaswamy or Wankhede. Those two, by far, are the loudest grounds I've ever played at or watched a game at. Chinnaswamy just feels like you're sitting. It's almost like Combank Stadium there in Sydney. You feel like you're sitting on top of the play. Everyone's cheering for RCB or Virat Kohli. Not so much RCB, just Virat Kohli. And it is loud as anything. So Wankhede kind of similar, just 40 degrees hotter. But both of those have got a real vibe about them, which is cool.
Aaron asks, do you think the impact sub is a good rule? Is it ruining all-rounders?
Look, I didn't like it last year. Like I was a bit unsure as to why they brought it in, but I've actually really liked it this year. I think what it does do is keep teams in the contest longer. I mean, we saw it the other night. I can't remember who it was sort of 3 for 30 or 4 for 30 or something, and they had to bring their impact sub in to try and make runs to get to a total. All of a sudden, you get yourself to 150, 160, and you're kind of in the contest. So I like it from that regard. Is it ruining all-rounders? Not really, but is that such a bad thing? No. I mean, they're dominating world cricket anyway, so it's probably just making players a little bit more skill-specific, which I don't mind either. So, if they could bring that into the WPL, that would be ideal.
Do you want the Mitch Marsh rule roll, do you?
Mate, when I see Travis Head, when the Sunrisers win the toss and the Sunrisers are having a bat and Travis Head gets out and he's already in his Birkenstocks by the time that he's up the stairs and taking his pads off, I think that is the dream run. So bring that into the women's game. That would be great.
Charlie's got one that I actually want to know the answer to, very much so as well. What did you make about the 3 runouts that Mitch was at the other end for? 3 games ago, was it?
Yeah, look, it was a little bit of head scratching, sitting there watching, and sometimes I feel like when you're growing up playing the game of cricket, some people spend a little bit too much time in the nets and not enough time playing the game of cricket to work that out. But comical, but also frustrating at the same time. But look, I guess they were doing the right thing. They were trying to do the team thing and get to the other end and make sure that, some of the sloggers were on strike, but it just kind of limits the scoring at the end of the day. So just stay in your crease.
Oh, dear. Met us, is there a player at the IPL you secretly wish was Australian?
Ooh. You know what? And spending like a little bit of time around this group, like KL Rahul is like the quietest person that I've ever met. And I feel like, and I'm going to look over to my right here, but I feel like if KL Rahul was part of an Australian dressing room, do you reckon he'd fit in?
Probably.
Yeah. He's like just like the most cool, calm, collected dude like you've ever met. Like lovely. And I feel like he'd just be sitting in the corner of the SCG just waiting to go out there and bat and do his thing for Australia. So he'd be a nice asset to have.
Old mate to your right there wasn't going to turn around and say, nah, don't like him, was he? They've got to share.
True. I've kind of put him on the spot together there a little bit.
But you're right. Like I was at the SCG test and watching his demeanour when all that was going on. That was the day that garbage was going on with Virat and the crowd. And, Virat was just playing to the crowd and a bit on the line. KL Rahul looked like the calmest dude in the whole stadium. He's like very much mind on... And you saw it through the summer. He was like the second set of ears, eyes, everything, the second sense for whatever sense the captain was using. So it looked like a very good teammate to have.
It seems like it's less about him. Like he's got a really distinct routine and takes a little while to set up when he's batting. And I've like watched it live. But it feels like there's like less fuss around him. It's like a little bit less about him and more about the team, which I think could fit in more to the Australian way of thinking. So, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, and he's got He's got a mullet, an 80s bogan in Australia would die for as well. So, yeah, anyway, it's a good look. Who's the best keeper in the IPL? Asked Liam.
Ooh, good question.
Good one, Liam.
Yeah, good one, Liam. I've got to think about it. Well, I feel like a lot of the teams have just like slapped a... Actually, there's keepers everywhere in the IPL. I mean, Delhi have got, two that are fielding for them at the moment, running around in the field in Stubbs and Abhishek Parel. So there's keepers everywhere. But the RCB keeper at the moment seems to be doing a really good job, and he's got some crafty bowlers to keep to. So he's not bad. But, I mean, I saw Joss Butler's catch the other night as well. So, Joss Butler.
Okay. Harry Brook. Phoebe asked, do you think DC need to replace Harry Brook? I don't know. It doesn't look like they've missed him terribly, but is there a Harry Brook void with this team?
There is actually. Like, funnily enough, we've been speaking about it as well. They didn't rush into it, which I loved. I thought they'd back the guys that they've got. But I think now leading into the back end of the tournament to have another option up their sleeve could be really important. And I think, just hearing whispers, I think there's some conversations going on at the moment about who that person might be. But yeah, they're lucky that they haven't really needed a replacement just yet. But like I said, leading into finals and a long tournament and a busy back end for this team, having another option could be quite handy. So it'd be interesting to see who they call upon.
What are the rules with that? Is there a window, or is it just do your best whenever you want to?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on the rules, but surely just as a replacement, they've got to they can come in at any point, I would have thought. But surely you got to come in before finals.
Would have thought so. Anyway,
I have updated information on that.
From your statistician. Yep.
It's got to be done before the next game. So it might come out in the next couple of days if the replacement has been found.
Okay, if you're listening to this and saying, why are they talking about Harry Brook's replacement when he's been named? Sorry, when we record this, we didn't know, but we might know very soon. So there you go.
Yep.
And Trace asks, this is away from the IPL, how is it the women's national team play no ODIs between the Ashes and the One Day World Cup? What do you think of this?
Well, we actually do, and I don't know if I'm spoiling the schedule, but we've actually got 3 ODIs against India in India right before the World Cup. So it's not a lot of preparation, but it does give us, probably 2 weeks in India before the tournament actually starts to get used to the conditions. So yeah, look, it's an interesting one. It's a weird time to have a gap in the schedule leading into a World Cup. I will definitely say that. I'm not having a crack at the scheduling team, but it's a weird time to have a break. But I mean, the girls at the same time, they've had a busy 12 months, so to have that little bit of downtime. A lot of the girls will go to England. There's some playing there at the moment, play the 100, and probably the rest of them will freshen up before a World Cup after a busy 12 months. So it's not such a bad thing, but I mean, for someone who's missed out on a bit of cricket, they're keen to play a little bit more. But the next 12 months is hectic, so the downtime's probably going to be more beneficial than not.
Yeah, and this is right now is the official off season for you guys. You are on holidays.
I'm on holidays.
Officially, so
yeah.
Yeah. Are you actually enjoying like drinking beer at the cricket, playing golf, eating beautiful Indian food? Is there anything else that you need in your holiday at the moment? Hills, like apart from talking crap on here on Willow Talk with me once in a while.
Well, I'm yet to have a pina colada, so that might be nice. Little getaway to the Maldives. Maldives. Sorry if I pronounce it wrong, but yeah, pina colada might be nice, but I'll have to find one. We'll get there.
Fergus O'Neill, his county stint is over. Nottinghamshire was where he was. The team based out of Trent Bridge, steaming in from the Stuart Broad end or something like that. 21 wickets in his appearances in 4 games at an average of well under 20, which bodes well, but he only had that short-term visa. But what an outstanding contribution in the 4 games that he could play.
Well, knowing what he does with the Kookaburra ball in Australia, it's no real surprise that he went really well over there with the Duke's ball. But yeah, what a stint. I mean, I said at the top of the show, like I feel like if you leave a county and they're raving about you, not just as what you've done on the field, but who you are off the field as well, I feel like you've got a contract there for life if you ever want to come back and play. But yeah, kudos to him for going up, taking that opportunity, and I'm sure they'll be wanting to have him back at any point that he can. But Yeah, he's so skillful with ball in hand, and to have a ball that probably does a little bit more for him, I think it was a good move.
A few Aussies in the runs over there. Marcus Harris, he's nearly 400 runs in 6 digs, average of about 80. Peter Handscomb, 142 for Leicestershire in a recent game. But this is cricket, isn't it? So Cam Green rocks up, first game, 112 for Gloucestershire. Since then, he's gone 3, 4, 2.
Yep.
No wonder it screws with your head sometimes, this game.
Mate, that's just the moment that you feel like you've got cricket figured out, it slams the door on you really quickly and makes sure that you know that you haven't quite. But like Marcus Harris, Peter Handscomb, you look Cam Bancroft as well. Like they've all gone over there most years and done really well, been really successful. So yeah, no real surprise that they're in the runs, but yeah, Cam Green's one. It was all the hype leading into it as well as probably not helped him at the same time, but I'm sure he'll be back amongst the runs soon.
Now, Liam sent Willow Talk a interesting video on Instagram. Funny, whatever way you look at it. This is from the Pakistan T20 League, the PSL, the Pakistan Super League. So, Ubaid Shah took a wicket. It was a little fired up. Little might have been underestimating the fact that he was steaming, and he was very, very happy, but very angry at the same time, which is an interesting way to be, but they're fast bowlers. He went up to wicketkeeper Usman Khan and went to high-five him, and he did it with such force, he went straight through the gloves and not just hit his head, but smacked him in the head, and poor old Usman was on the ground, rolling around, still 30 seconds later, didn't know what had hit him. It's that's a bit of a stuff-up. It's back the old 12th man one when they get the high-five wrong. That was a horror show in the PSL.
Yeah, not ideal. I mean, yeah, you'd like to have full 11 players fit on the field, in particular your wicketkeeper. They're not exactly easy to replace, but yeah, interesting one. I mean, the only other one that I can think of, like friendly fire, apart from me getting knocked out trying to take a catch, was I can't remember who it was, got poked in the eye. Somebody went for the high five as well, missed and poked them in the eye, and they were down for the count. Yeah. I don't think they took any further part in the fielding innings, so that's the only other one I saw. So, like, you don't need to be aggressive with your high fives. I feel like that's just a bit immature. Let's just get the job done, walk off.
Is there anyone in your teams that have come over, and they are the team pest, but they come over into the huddle and they're so excited they start like not just tapping people on the head, but banging people on the head?
That's normally our role.
No one does it? Yeah. We'll give the gloves on, it's all right.
Yeah, no, but I'll tell you what, and I see it a lot in the NRL, the Penrith Panthers in particular, like when they're in the huddle and someone dives in over the top. Like, yeah. I've seen Meg Lanning do that after a World Cup win, but like that's pretty rare in cricket, and it should stay rare because I feel like more injuries happen out of that than anything else. So, like, keep your feet on the ground.
The drafts for the WBBL and BBL set for June 19, so right in the middle of winter, they'll do the draft for that. So I don't know how many players are up for grabs. Do you know?
I don't know. I'm not sure either. I know Sixers WBBL got the first pick, so that's worked out wonders for us. But it'll be interesting to see which way we go. Obviously, on the hunt for a new coach at the moment. So yeah, the coach will probably get appointed before the draft, I would have thought. And I think those conversations are happening behind the scenes as to who they're looking
Captain
at drafting,
Coach
which is cool. No,
Captain Coach.
It will not be me. I will hopefully just be partaking in the tournament this year, Adam, after 2 seasons of playing about 3 games. But no, looking forward to it. I think busy summer. I know that I'm just going to speak on behalf of the WBBL here. Busy summer for a lot of the countries around the world. So who does put their name in for the draft straight after a one-day World Cup will be really interesting. But I still think some of the best players in the world will want to be a part of it, which will be cool. And the scheduling looks like it's running a little bit later into or earlier into December, which hopefully will mean that the two tournaments may be overlapping. So that might be really cool.
And before we go, this is the 18th anniversary of Australia's hat-trick of men's one-day World Cup titles. 2007, winning the final in Barbados over Sri Lanka in the dark. It was an interesting end to that particular game. Adam Gilchrist, of course, went Burko in that final, 149. The bowling attack, pretty good one. Nathan Bracken, Sean Tate, Glenn McGrath, Shane Watson, Brad Hogg, Michael Clark and Andrew Simons chimed in with the ball as well. Really, like this Sri Lankan side, Jayasuriya, Sangakkara, Jay Wardner, Tilakaratne, Dilshan, Malinga, Murali. It was an incredible team that they beat in that particular final. It's just a shame that, but we said it during that test series, that Sri Lanka doesn't have that big recognisable star anymore.
Yeah, they haven't, and I don't know what you put it down to. I think maybe organisationally, like, things have dropped off a little bit. It's fascinating, and I know that all of those guys that you just mentioned are all still involved in the game of cricket, whether it be coaching, administration, like mentoring to an extent too, and are still really passionate about Sri Lankan cricket and trying to get it back to the level that it needs to be. And I think they're trying really hard to make that happen. But you look at that, but you also look at that and go, when all those guys retire, what next? And that's kind of the big question: is did they have the depth underneath to maintain that? And maybe they didn't quite at the time, and they're rebuilding, and maybe they will get back to that one day. They've got some serious talent in that Sri Lankan team. It's just being able to do it consistently, and with the threat of league cricket around the world as well, it's hard to keep players on track in international cricket.
It's not as if in one-day cricket they've dropped off a cliff, Sri Lanka. They are still ranked 6th, just behind South Africa. I mean, England are ranked 7th. The Windies are the ones that have bottomed out a bit. They're down to 10th. Bangladesh and Afghanistan are ranked higher than them. But my question for cricket is, in 18 years' time, for men's cricket, teams ranked 11 to 20, is there going to be a side? Because there's a big gap between 10 and 11 with the aggregate points, average points and things like that. If there's a team outside the top 10 right now can jump in and add more depth to international cricket, it's hard to see how it happens, but it could. Never know. Well,
I think you look at the untapped markets in cricket at the moment, and like America screams at me just that little bit, and whether it's ODI cricket, I'm not sure. But they've got to come into the frame at some point. They got Major League Cricket over there now. They're growing the game over there. So if they get sort of some depth underneath, some young kids playing the game of cricket, knowing the population over there, if they get some young cricketers in that are good, they could be a real force as well. So ODI cricket's a whole different story. I think T20 cricket levels everything out, but to get a side like that into one-day cricket would be really interesting to see.
Heels, that's that for Willow Talk, unless there's anything else you want to add, really?
No, not really, but I do, if on the talk of teams that we want to see up there, I think if Iceland get in there, that'd be great for the social media side of the game as well.
Yeah. Good luck preparing a pitch.
Yeah.
You never know, though. Modern technology. Maybe an indoor stadium. Hills, enjoy the next week or two, whenever we catch up next. I'm not sure when it'll be. But yeah, looking forward, counting down the days to Punjab v Delhi. Can't wait.
Thank you. 9th of May, I believe it is. So we'll hang on to them. We'll wait and see who's buying the super drives when we're back in Sydney.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Heels. Thanks for listening, everyone. Willow Talk, back later in the week. Yeah, thanks for watching the Willow Talk podcast on YouTube. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't have to miss an episode wherever you are. And while you're at it, check out these videos up here. They're mostly good.